Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the live stream. I'm here with Misty Winston. She's an activist whose work focuses on press freedom, freedom of speech, anti-imperialism. She's also the host of the Misty Winston Show on TNT Radio and co-host of the Action for Assange podcast. Please welcome Misty Winston. Hi, Misty. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I wanted to have you on today because you're an expert in all things Julian Assange, and what's happening in Congress right now is Rashida Tlaib. She's the chairperson of the Progressive Caucus, and she's not very progressive, but she has written a letter, and she's getting people to sign it, and it's in support of Julian Assange, and I'll just read you a short part of it. Mr. Assange's prosecution marks the first time in U.S. history that the Espionage Act has been used to indict a publisher of truthful information. The prosecution of Mr. Assange, if successful, not only sets a legal precedent whereby journalists or publishers can be prosecuted, but a political one as well. In the future, the New York Times or the Washington Post could be prosecuted when they publish important stories based on classified information. Or just as dangerous, they may refrain from publishing such stories for fear of prosecution. The New York Times, The Guardian, El País, Le Monde, Der Spiegel have taken the extraordinary step of publishing a joint statement in opposition to the indictment of Julian Assange, warning that it sets a dangerous precedent and threatens to undermine America's First Amendment and the freedom of the press. They are joined in their opposition to Mr. Assange's prosecution by groups like the ACLU, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Reporters Without Borders, and the Committee to Protect Journalists. Numerous foreign leaders have also expressed their concern in opposition, including Australian Prime Minister Albanese, Mexican President AMLO, Brazilian President Lula da Silva, and parliamentarians from numerous countries, including the UK, Germany, Brazil, and Australia. If you have any questions or would like to sign on to this letter, please contact Representative Tlaib's policy advisor. Thank you for your partnership in defending the freedom of the press and the First Amendment. Sincerely, Rashida Tlaib, member of Congress, and she's also the chairperson of the Progressive Caucus. And so let me bring you in, Misty. Why do you think it took so long for this letter? And I mean, why now?
I don't know why it took so long. That's a very good question. I would love to ask all of them because we are now coming up on the 4-year anniversary of his arrest, essentially his kidnapping from the Ecuadorian embassy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very troubling to me that it's taken 4 years for them to even breathe like a mention of his name. Most of them won't even say his name. So while I appreciate the fact that they're finally stepping forward, it is troubling that it did take this long. And I don't know why. Rashida Tlaib is not somebody I trust
at all.
I do think that no, not even a little bit. But I will use this. Like, I'm not an idiot. This is an opportunity for Assange supporters. We now finally have members of Congress talking about it. We have them taking some sort of an action. So we can use this to our advantage, drum up more support, get this out in the public consciousness, out in the media if we can. So it's always good when we get something like this that happens that we can take advantage of. But I don't trust them at all in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But I mean, we'll use it to whatever advantage we can.
So you are actually, I want to make sure people know about this, April 11th, that's a Tuesday, you're doing a rally for him in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Justice, 10th in Pennsylvania. So from 4 to 6 p.m., if anybody is in the area, wants to go and be part of that rally, 4 years in Belmarsh. So it's the anniversary of him being arrested.
Yes.
That's why.
And that's why we did it on April 11th. I know that that's a Tuesday. That's probably going to impact our turnout. I get that. I do think it's important, though, that we have a presence in Washington, D.C. on the day, on April 11th. That is the 4-year anniversary. So, I mean, that's just kind of we had to weigh the pros and cons. And I think it's important for us to have a presence there that day.
Okay. And the hashtag is Free Assange. And so I want to make sure everybody heard about that before we keep talking about this. But I'm really trying to. How come you think this doesn't hurt the Democratic Party more? Why isn't this hurt Joe Biden more? Just go ahead, take it from there.
You mean the fact that they're continuing the persecution of Julian Assange?
Yes.
I think that because Democrats are, I mean, scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds, right? I think a lot of liberals support the persecution and prosecution of Julian Assange, and I think that they're fine. I mean, we've seen it play out, right? AOC used her massive email list to call for people to mass report people who were mean to her. They support censorship, like they're all for it. They go and have these congressional hearings with Mark Zuckerberg, and AOC's finger wagging because he's not censoring enough. You know what I mean? So I think that generally speaking, the Democratic base, and especially considering the fact that we're post 2016, post the Hillary Clinton and DNC releases from WikiLeaks, that's very fresh in their minds. They feel like Julian Assange, really did damage and injury to Queen Hillary, and they just can't have that. So I think that there's a lot of resentment and anger towards Julian Assange, and I generally just think that liberals are fine with censorship and they don't care what happens to Julian Assange or the First Amendment, frankly.
How did that happen? How did it go from the when I was young, the Democratic Party were the liberals, they were the people fighting censorship, and now they're very pro. How did that happen?
I don't know. It's fascinating. Like, I would love to, go back and look through and study it. I don't even know that there was necessarily a switch of the parties. I think that both parties just became incredibly corporate. And I think that in becoming corporate, you almost have to stand for censorship because you have to protect your donors.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, the best way to do that is to allow them to buy the media and censor whomever they want in order to push forward their agenda. And I think that's really what we're just seeing play out, is that both parties are now completely under corporate capture. And the best way to protect their status quo is to censor people.
I watch this happen. It's so funny how things that are kind of you think are minor importance, or I watch this start with comedy. Well, really, it was the Gamergate was the big one that a lot of them still refer to. I watched them do this where free speech is a bad, almost racist thing. It was all coming out of the colleges. So these are all the millennial college grads got indoctrinated in that. And then once they're all turned into well, you can't, it's not censorship of the government. Once you got them all acclimated to that, then it's perfectly net. Then they put those remember those fake charges they put on him in Sweden around the same time?
The fake
so that
sex
was
charges?
and that was to break down all the support he would have got. There's some kind of psyop. I mean, that's how it looks to me. Of going through the colleges, all this stuff that was supposedly social justice, I'm sure some maniac came up with and filtered it through these idiots. And so that way, if you're conservative, you go, oh, it's the left is out to get. But this is some kind of long game thing to make sure you can't say anything about the government. Like, we've slowly merged don't joke about things and don't say anything about the government into one thing.
Yes.
And now the corporations are in on it. It's amazing. It happened very gradually in the places on the wall nobody was watching,
And it became couched as you were fighting fascism.
Yes.
So now the people who voted for Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton are convinced that if they don't censor, fascism will win. It's the exact opposite. Censorship is fascism. That's the whole thing.
Well, I mean, they've got them convinced that funding Nazis is fighting fascism. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's amazing. That's what I say. It's very interesting to me. It's fascinating because it's not even like they hide it, Jimmy. I mean, it's, we're seeing the propaganda, the Ukraine war propaganda. They're regurgitating the exact axis of terror, the Viagra thing. They're completely just reusing old stuff. And people are still oh my God, they're using Viagra. It is really fast. The psychology behind it. That's why I focus so hard on propaganda and all of that stuff, because it is mind-blowingly fascinating to me, the abilities that they have to manipulate the systems of information and really manufacture reality for us. It's scary.
Well, another big part that helped this happen was the identity politics crap. It's a lot like the railroads, how they have the unions broken up into each little job.
Yeah.
So that they can never bargain and get what they need.
Together, right.
That's what they're doing to everybody. You get you in your little identity group, and that's all you care about, and then you don't know, and then that's how up can be down and you don't notice. That's you're 100% right. And it's, I know I'm a white guy, white male, and I'm the most hated thing in the world, but and I'm not supposed to be able to make points like this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, because that's the whole point of the show. So, if you care about anything, if you don't have a freedom of the press, if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have anything. No. It's all over, because what the machine has is narrative control, and that's why they do all the censorship. That's why there's such a vice around our neck here at YouTube. That's why we have to go to Rumble. It's because all they have left is narrative control, and if they lose the control of the narrative, then they have to start disappearing people, and that's harder. They'll do it. They've done it. Yeah. We got that TikTok bill coming for that.
They did it to John F. Kennedy. They'll do it. It's just harder to do.
You know what else?
100%.
Calling it a kind of pill to figure it out. That shows you how much Big Pharma controls us.
And people don't realize that Julian Assange is not in prison to have anything to do with Russia or the Hillary Clinton campaign. He's in prison because he told the truth about the war crimes that America had been committing in Iraq that was told to him by Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning gave him that information. He published it. And that's what he's in prison for. The same reason why Barack Obama tortured Chelsea Manning. By the way, we're not putting Barack Obama, there's no lawsuit, there's no DA trying to prosecute Barack Obama for committing torture. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, that's where the folks that were tortured?
The folks.
The folks. Yeah.
So
no, but you're absolutely right about that. And that's we have a situation where the only two people who have ever seen any punishment, any accountability, or even the inside of a courtroom is the whistleblower and the publisher. And Julian Assange published that information along with the New York Times, the Washington Post, El País, Der Spiegel, Le Monde, multiple different major outlets. And in fact, some of them published the information before he did because they got an early tip on some of the stuff that had been leaked otherwise. So it is crazy to me that we're allowing this man to be tortured the way that he is being tortured out in broad daylight. And it's not even just about him. I think people are missing the bigger picture. They're missing the fact that this is 100% about press freedom. Jimmy, you just said it. If you care about anything, if you care about the environment, if you care about education, if you care about, whatever it is, you cannot effectively fight for anything if you do not have the ability to inform yourself and others, have conversations, debate ideas, protest your government. Those are all vital to fighting for anything. And we're very, 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 very close to losing it. Very close. And it's troubling that again, Barack Obama is out there getting book deals and buying, estates on Martha's Vineyard, and Julian Assange is now coming up on 4 years in a Category A prison for telling the truth.
For telling the truth. I always try to remind people that they don't put you in prison for lying. They make you president if you lie good enough. If you tell the truth, that's when they put you in prison.
Oh, an information dump? That's what I call the truth. You're just dumping the information.
Edward Snowden is trapped in Russia, not because he wants to be, but because the United States would put him in prison for, again, revealing the crimes of our government.
Well, why does he come and face a trial where he's not allowed to testify in his own behalf? If he's really a hero.
Oh, yeah. I get that a lot with Assange, too.
Yes.
Every identity group, they made a smear about him. That's what the feminist one, they got everybody in groups, and everybody has their little reason
and
why.
That is
he's
by
bad because of that.
design, Kurt. That's by design.
It's obvious when you look at it.
Yes, there's been a very obvious concentrated effort to smear him from every angle possible, to get every single group possible mad at him. Like you said, liberals in 2010, 2011 were giving him a standing ovation, a room full of liberals at his TED Talk, giving him a standing ovation. And now they all are calling for, him to essentially be assassinated. That's what's happening. It's murder in slow motion. And it's a very interesting. It's that tribalism, you know what I mean? If you attack their team, then suddenly you're enemy number one. It doesn't matter the reality or the truth or any of that thing. It's that tribalistic urge to defend your team, and it's that's like a huge issue in this country. That tribalistic thing.
Because everybody who is old enough to remember what scumbags all these people are that run everything. I'm aged out of the demographic, the coveted demographic anyone cares about, the 18 to 35. So we always got a new generation of suckers. So I was a sucker, didn't know anything about Vietnam when we went in Iraq. And now we got a whole bunch of people who don't remember anything about Iraq or any of that.
Or Libya.
Yeah.
Or the 20-year war in Afghanistan that was a complete grift. It was just an upward transfer of wealth from the treasury to the pockets of the military-industrial complex. That's all it was. That's why they kept it going for 20 years. Again, these, as Julian Assange reminds us, these wars are not meant to be won. These wars are meant to be endless. So we can keep transferring money. That's all this is.
That's another reason why he's in prison, is because he recognized that. And he's also been telling the truth about our social media companies for years. He warned us about Facebook in 2014. So there's a lot of reasons why they don't like him, and both sides don't like him. Liberals, Republicans, it doesn't matter. None of them like him because their donors don't like him.
That's right.
So, seeing the congressional letter, I hope that a bunch of people sign it. I hope Marjorie Taylor Greene comes. Can you imagine if Marjorie Taylor Greene signed on to Rashida Tlaib's letter to support Julian Assange? I will use the shit out of that. Right? Like that's a very effective tool for us as Assange supporters.
That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, to at least get it out into the media more and stuff like that. So, I mean, when you're doing this, you have to just find the opportunities wherever they present themselves. And I'll use this to whatever advantage I can. We're going to try to get some meetings with some. Because I'm not the person for that job. I don't think I could be nice to politicians, frankly. But some of my friends, some of my organizing buddies, are going to try to get meetings with members of Congress on April 11th during the day before our event, and have conversations with them. And hopefully that'll be successful. We do already have some people who are at least tepidly supportive. Rand Paul is he makes me angry, but whatever. We've got a couple people. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very vocally supportive. Now we have
Matt
Rashida
Gaetz?
Tlaib. Yeah, Matt Gaetz. Thomas Massey, no longer in Congress, but he's a supporter.
He's not in Congress anymore?
Yeah, so
What happened?
I don't know. I think he just wanted out. I don't know. I don't know.
He's not in. Are you kidding? No, he's still. Hey, sir.
I don't think so.
Is
Am I-
Thomas
am I
Massey
thinking-
still in Congress?
I might be thinking of somebody else.
I
I'm
think
terrible at names.
He's the former Republican member of the
Yeah.
Colorado House of
I thought so.
Representatives. Who's the guy? No. Everybody look it up. Oh, I'm thinking of a different guy.
Oh,
I might be thinking of a different guy.
That's a different Thomas Massey.
Yeah, he's from West Virginia or something, right?
This
The
is
one-
I'm looking for the one from Ohio.
Oh, he's from Ohio?
Right.
not Kentucky.
No, I don't have
Or
an Ohio.
Kentucky?
Kentucky. This
Kentucky.
is who I have right now. That's
Oh, yeah.
the Massey you want. That's
so I'm
Kentucky.
thinking. So there's a different Tom. So is he still in Congress? Does it say?
4th District shows U.S. House,
Yeah,
Kentucky
he
4th
might be.
District.
Who am I thinking of?
I don't
Why
know.
am
Okay, I'm
shit
glad.
at names.
I'm glad I caught that though. No, thank God.
No, yeah.
Thomas Massey is still in
No, but
Congress.
he's vaguely supportive, more so of the First Amendment than Assange personally. But
You know,
Yeah.
now that we have all this like smear job thing, they can do this thing where they get these like propped up constructs. If somebody's running for office, it might have a chance. They can have some bad person endorse them or stand next to them.
yes,
This, you know,
yeah.
like that little.
I think honestly
yeah.
that's what they're doing with Marjorie Taylor Greene and
Oh,
Assange.
100%. That's what that little
Yeah.
creep Nick Fuentes, who's some kind of either a DNC op
Yes.
or a Fed.
Yes.
His job is to go. He just, what's the guy's name? Kent. That guy just on purpose sabotaged this dude who should have been, you would think in his mind he was for, but that he's working for like one of these like super PACs or something, and his job is to go stand next to him. And go, did you have dinner with this bad guy? And they have a whole system to make sure nothing
course.
can
Of
break
course.
through.
Hey, you know what? I think she may have been talking about Ben
Justin
Sassy.
Amash. No, Justin Amash. That's what I was thinking
okay.
Oh, okay. Justin Amash.
Because
Okay.
Ben Sassy, he
I'm
stepped
genuinely
down too.
terrible at names. Anybody that knows me knows I'm absolutely shit at names.
Okay,
I
no
constantly confuse people.
Well,
all
listen,
the time.
I want to remind everybody. So it's April 11th. That's a Tuesday,
Yes.
4 to 6 p.m. at the Department of Justice. If you care about Julian Assange and you can make it, please do. You see our good friend Misty will be there. And it's always a good time to get out and see your fellow activists. It's always life
Yes.
affirming.
And it's
It-
very therapeutic to yell at the Department of Justice through a megaphone. I highly recommend trying it.
I do too. All right. Misty Winston, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck on your rally.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member too. And come see us do our live shows. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy in Milwaukee, Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.